Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reacts where today we got ourselves a track from an ex named Bully Hey, titled Lovers Get High. And if we switch over to here, we got ourselves a track on YouTube, the music video for it. I should note that this is the third single off of Bully Hey's second album titled Anywhere But Here, which was originally released on the 6th of March of this year. It'd be good to check out the music for the first time. We're going to listen through it from start till finish. And we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go. Interesting sound design.
Flickers on flesh, why don't you hide in my garden tonight? Cruising on back, why don't you slide in till it's over and out? I'm like a vagrant, frustrated, dehydrated in your backyard.
Great harmonies.
Casting long shadows, throwing stones at you. The night is long, lovers get high. When nothing's wrong, everything's right.
Great transition back to the picking there on the guitar. Nice overlap of leads.
Feels like living in darkness with your waistline moving around. It's lonely, wasn't casting a doubt. I gave all that I had, and I had quite a lot. Like a vagrant, X-rated, dehydrated in your backyard, casting long shadows, throwing stones at you. The night is long, lovers get high. When nothing's wrong, everything's right.
When nothing's wrong, everything's right. Interesting. These whispers are creepy. Interesting sort of vinyl flicker at the end there, the crackle to the image. Well produced music video. We're going to talk about this track more though in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Bully Hey, titled Lovers Get High. In this section I'm going to provide an overall song analysis of everything from lyrics and vocals all the way through to studio production as well as any applicable constructive critique. And then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? In my view, this sounds like someone who is looking at the relationship they have with another and their relationship to them, the connection they have to that person, the chemistry is like a high. They talk about how when nothing is wrong, everything is right, but at the same time, there are moments they discuss in detail where when things aren't right, they feel like an addict without oxygen, like they're suffocating without it. And I think that that's subject matter that I think a lot of people will be able to relate to, so I feel like there'll be an audience for this kind of track from the story alone. What helps communicate the story is a really competent vocal performance with a mixture of mainly sort of male vocal leads there with some occasional harmonies and points over top, which is really well sung. We've got a nice sort of texture and timbre in the mix. We've got great presence. There are elements that kind of meet us there, like some of the lead guitar parts, but we still maintain presence. We're comfortable in a hidden chest voice. Nice and tight within our range there. There's never a moment where we feel uncertain about the words that are coming through. And I feel like we express ourselves in a way which seems relevant to the subject matter. We sound like we're kind of like not tired as in like lacking in energy, but more like we're kind of exasperated with this, like we've been going through a lot during the situationship that we're discussing. I think the whispers that you hear in certain parts are particularly interesting, primarily because these are the thoughts going around in your head maybe when you're going through withdrawal symptoms. It's just very sort of creepy sounding, and it's a nice contrast, it being a lot quieter than the other elements within the track, making good use of space. But overall, quite a competent vocal performance. The track itself at 4 minutes 15 is nicely structured, a mixture of different verses, choruses, and instrumental sections. It's just outside of the 2 to 4 minute sweet spot where if it's longer than 4 minutes, sometimes you need to add additional parts or different textures or sounds or different bits in order to keep listeners' attention. Thankfully, I don't think there's any filler within this track. We carry ourselves well, we transfer neatly, and the performance across the board is quite tight. We have a mixture of different guitar, bass, and drum parts with some odd percussion elements as well sprinkled in, and it's nice and lush. The track also has a lot of sort of noise-related elements or bits of sort of ambience or atmospheric textures, such as at the beginning, you have this heavily kind of vibrato or tremolo guitar there as a sub layer there with a kind of scratch going on. It's kind of like a similar purpose to the whispers that you hear there, where it's sort of like an ambience thing there, are separated from the actual meat of the track. And you come in with this kind of, if I'm not mistaken, chicken-picked kind of guitar part there, bouncing between the bass notes and sort of like main sort of higher string parts there. There's a nice sort of satisfying loop that's instantiated there. The guitar playing is tight across the board. We have a variety of different sort of rhythmic and lead elements there, but it's just a cool sort of like dominant riff there that perpetuates and allows a lead line that kind of coalesces alongside it to sort of have presence. When we eventually add the mixture of shakers or tambourines as well as the drum kit with a mixture of onbeats and syncopated quarters, eighths and sixteenths, so a gentle sort of natural groove is instantiated there. A lot of the power and attitude comes not just from the vocals, but also the guitar parts. But the drums are like a metronome. They're incredibly tight in terms of keeping the pace and groove. And the bass as well, underneath a lot of this stuff, perpetuates the root notes really neatly. It backs them up, creates a nice ground floor, but there's almost a staccato feel in it when it kind of makes it sort of sound like it's not like a smoother track as opposed to some of the stuff's kind of cutting at you, When you have some of those more sort of boisterous lead lines in the top range with its mixture of kind of sharper upper end register and the reverb tails and these bends and sort of unison notes and stuff like that, or flat seconds or flat nines, you have a bit of tension and grit there that's put forward there that makes for a kind of a slightly uncomfortable experience, but not in the way that makes it uninteresting to listen to. It's just you can tell there's kind of like drama involved. And we resolve those to more sort of pretty jangly sounding, sort of lightly crisp guitar leads there that kind of navigate between the various sort of like major and minor sort of scales of the key involved, with some interesting sort of slide techniques there that add a sense of legato to it. There are some parts, such as around the 2 minute 20 mark, where the chords are held and they just kind of flow neatly as well. It's kind of cool to hear the track kind of just allow itself to sit with itself a bit outside of the staccatoed elements that you hear throughout the verse part. Around the 2 minute 50 part, where things come down and you have moments of kind of like I suppose further anxiety or tension induced by those quieter sort of unpredictable parts. With the whispers in there as well, the production is tight, but it's also that the track has a natural sense of compositional dynamic range because of that. And we move into the lead section on the guitar, the solo part thereafter that. It's just a neat transition into that. Like there's absolutely no filler within this piece. And I like that we maintain a steady sort of glow with the lead lines and, you know, alongside the basses, rhythm guitars, drums, and vocals throughout that end section there. It just feels nice and full at that stage. And as we kind of build in intensity, go towards more fortissimo feel with the crashes put forward on the drums outside of their snare kick and sort of like cymbal hi-hat grooves. It's just a nice way to sort of fade us out. With the vocals kind of like resolving at the end. And that kind of then that crackle of the fire as things sort of burn in the ether, fading us out. So when you look at the track as a whole there, again, it's well nicely structured. There's tight performances across the board from all the instruments, and I don't think there's a note out of place. Thematically, the track is it's minor key oriented there. There's different bass lines and chord progressions which give different feels and flows to it. There's almost a bittersweet feel to the chorus because of the way that things sort of like show themselves, but like ultimately this track is a tale of loss or of the highs, peaks and troughs of, again, getting high on love. And so ultimately I think they're the key signature choice as well as the notes and the moments of tension, especially with some of those chromatic notes on the guitar parts, as well as the general sort of textural elements like the ambient parts, like the whispers and stuff. They elicit a connection to the minor key that makes sense here. Also with the subject matter of the vocals, of course. The studio recording, mixing and mastering across the board is tight. There's a nice presence to the vocals. I think the sound design with the crackles, the sort of like sub-layering of some of the guitar parts at the start, the whispers, etc. Things are nicely cued. They're spread around the stereo field as well as the frequency spectrum. No complaints from me in terms of how we're approaching things. There's a sense of dynamic range to the piece, not just compositionally, but also from a production part. We just carry ourselves well, and it's just a nicely recorded performance. Nice and loud, bit of pumping, bus compression limiting is handled, nicely glued as well and compressed. And the vocals aren't overproduced. There's EQing and compression, a bit some reverb tails and stuff like that, but we're not needing to sort of fix and post it. We just sing really well. So yeah, no applicable constructive critique for me, just a fantastic first impression to Billy Hayes' work. And in terms of general final listener's perspective, ultimately it's a great introduction to their stuff. I had a nice time with it. I think that they're a fantastic musician. I wish them all the best of luck in future with the musical endeavors. Because thank you for watching my review of this track from an act named Bully Hay, Total Lovers Get High, off of the Anywhere But Here album. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias. And eat your page and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need their help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.